Okay, all right, people. Good evening to all of you. I'm Vikrant Bhosale. Today we are going to have a session on the introduction of GS-4 paper, which is one of the general studies paper of your main exam syllabus. The purpose of today's session is to give you a perspective about preparation of this paper and also to share with you a roadmap that you should follow going ahead, and this roadmap will help you to score good marks in this paper. Along with essay, ethics is also a game changer paper. You might have heard about it. If you look at the score of toppers, uh, along with optional, these two papers contribute significantly to their rank. So I would not overemphasize the importance of this paper, but initially I would try to give you some interesting perspective about why you should take active interest into ethics. So there are two things I would like to highlight before I start discussing nitty-gritties. One thing is that the question that is commonly raised among aspirants, and that I also feel it is a legitimate question, that as an adult, that I assume that most of you are adult, is it really necessary to teach you about morality? Yes. How many of you feel that way? You can respond in chat box, or you can share your thoughts about it. Do you feel that it is really important for an adult to learn about morality? The answer of this question is both yes as well as no. The answer is no, where the decisions are concerned with your personal life. So as far as your personal life is concerned, it is safe to assume that as an adult you have figured out what is right and wrong, and even if you commit mistake, you have this self-correcting tendency. But tomorrow, in a capacity as an officer, when you try to make decision for society or about society, you cannot safely assume that you have understood the social reality in all its dimensions. Because most of the time, as a layman, we try to look at society from a common man's perspective, which we call it commonsensical view of the society. But as most of you might have heard, that a common sense is not a common thing, right? So what we understand commonsensically about society may not be good enough to make right decisions about it. So why I say this? Because social reality is too complex to understand. So what is the solution to all these things? One solution is we must study social sciences like ethics. So what do these social sciences do? They help us to understand the complex social reality in all its possible dimensions. So this is one thing. Are you following this perspective that I'm trying to share here with you? Please raise your thumb, or you can say yes in chat box so that I can follow you, because I believe in making session interactive. So online people, are you following my arguments here? Yes. Right. Good. Thank you. Now, second perspective I would like to share initially is most of you, most of the aspirants, before they start preparing this exam, they listen to something known as topper stock, right? And whatever toppers say appears more convincing to us because they're successful students or successful people. Now, one thing I would like to caution you about is don't blindly imitate any topper, because the background with which they come here is not exactly same the background that you have got. So if you blindly imitate any topper without understanding his or her background, you are likely to commit mistakes. So the starting point of your entire preparation in this entire exam is self-awareness. And what do I mean by self-awareness? That you should do your SWOT analysis. You should list your strengths, you should list your weaknesses, you should also list the opportunities that your environment offers, and what are the threats that you are likely to encounter during the course of preparation. If you objectively do these things, then your strategy will be more aligned with your own, personality, rather than copying someone's strategy. Now, how does this happen? Let me give you some example. Okay, so let's begin with some case studies which are normally asked in ethics, as well as I take up for discussion. Let's start with first case study. Okay, imagine that you are the police commissioner of a city, and you have caught a person who you strongly believe to be a terrorist, and you also strongly have data or intelligence that this person has got information about a very powerful bomb that is hidden in your city. Now you interrogate him, but he doesn't respond to your queries. He keeps silent. He doesn't even try to say that he's innocent and he has nothing to do with the case. He keeps silent. So that strengthens your suspicion. So now to elicit that information from him, my question to you is, will you torture him? Now, most of the people, those who listen to this lecture and session, they end up saying that, yes, sir, we will torture the person. Now, when I ask about justification, what normal justification is heard? The justification they give is that we are weighing the option. On one hand, if you torture a person, only one person will suffer, but in the end, we will end up saving lakhs of lives. But if we don't torture him, then there is every possibility that the bomb would go off and it will kill lakhs of people. So this line of thinking is known as consequentialism in ethics. Now, in many cases, consequentialism appears to be a very effective way to decide right and wrong. But in some cases, it fails. Like this case, let's have a twist. Now that as a commissioner, you have decided to torture the person and you torture him, but he silently suffers but doesn't open the mouth. Now you realize that he is trained for such kind of torture. So even if he dies, he's so brainwashed that he won't open his mouth. So you again get worried. You need that location of the bomb and to defuse it. Then you get another intel that this person has got a 3-year-old daughter. And if you torture her in front of him, he will open the mouth and you will end up saving lakhs of lives. So how many of you will do it? Now, what happens here interestingly is people who earlier said yes, now refuse to say yes. Now, what changed? If I ask you for justification, why you refuse to torture her, that 3-year-old daughter of the terrorist, your answers will be very commonsensical. For example, you might say that she's innocent, she has nothing to do with the case, and like that. Now, do you believe that such kind of replies are convincing enough to prove that your choice is right? No. In order to give philosophical and ethical justification of your choice, you need to study ethics. Then you'll get some perspective, certain doctrines, certain theories that will help you to make sense of what you are deciding and why is that so, right? So social sciences help here. Second case I often take for discussion is suicide. So tell me in chat box or thumbs up, how many of you think that suicide is a wrong thing? Do you really believe that? Yes. How many of you say that suicide is wrong? Yes, I agree with it. Please reply. Do you really believe that suicide is a wrong thing? One should not commit suicide? Yes. Right. Most of us, I also. Now, when asked with explanation or justification, what would be normal justification of suicide? That we believe that suicide is not a solution to the problem that we are facing. Now, while offering such justification, what we assume here, we normally assume that all kinds of suicide are same. But that's not reality. As I told you, social reality is too complex. Now in sociology, there is one thinker, his name is Emil Durkheim, and he has studied suicide. He has given us 4 kinds of suicide. One kind of suicide is altruistic suicide. Altruism ka matlab hai, you've done it for the sake of others. You've done it for the welfare of others. For example, even today, many soldiers sacrifice their lives willingly for the sake of country. Now we call it martyrdom, but technically it is suicide. In old days, when in polar region there used to be scarcity of food, old age people of the family used to sacrifice themselves in the cold so that the remaining food would last for the remaining family members. Now, would you call such suicide as wrong? Of course not. Rather, as a society, we honor such suicides. Second kind of suicide Emil Durkheim talks about is fatalistic suicide. Now, what happens in fatalistic suicide? A person is subjected to excessive exploitation or oppression, and he or she thinks that such a life is not worth living. Now, for example, in earlier times when slavery was dominant, many slaves used to commit such suicide when they were tortured a lot. Even today, do you find such kind of suicide in our society? Yes, of course you do. For example, a newly married bride, when she is exploited by her in-laws and she doesn't have alternative or any solution in sight, she commits suicide. Or many times you might have read or heard news of students committing suicide when they can't handle the pressure of the education system. Now, in these cases, is it right to say that the suicide is an unethical thing? No, because you realize sometimes system is responsible that forces a person to take up such an extreme step, right? Third kind of suicide that we often uh, don't hear about, but yes, it is there, is anomic suicide. Anomic का मतलब है lawlessness, right? So when things or rules or people who give meaning and direction to our life suddenly disappear from our life, it creates a vacuum. And some people who are not able to deal with that vacuum, they end up their life. For example, 2 years back in Assam, a DGP of the Assam, he was also Home Secretary, committed suicide when his wife died in the hospital while battling cancer. Why did he took up such an extreme step when he was so powerful in the state? Because before that, earlier 2 to 3 months, his own mother and wife's mother, his in-law, had died. So within short span, he lost three close people and he had nobody in the family now, not even a child. So he didn't even wait for funerals. Now, would you call such suicide as unethical? Of course not. A few years back, when Andhra was united, they had a CM. His name was YSR Reddy. He died in helicopter crash. So many of his followers committed suicide because they loved him. Now, would you think this is a possible case in Maharashtra? Yes. Do you believe that in Maharashtra, people might commit suicide when their beloved leader dies? No, they won't. They may cry, they may feel sad, they may feel depressed, but they may not commit suicide. Now, these two stark different cases, Andhra Pradesh versus Maharashtra, ये आपको क्या बता रहे हैं? What are they trying to tell you? That sometimes suicide is done under social influence. Right? Do you agree with me? That sometimes suicide is done under social influence. I'll give you another example. Have you heard about suicide which are done as a part of spirituality or religion? Yes. In India also we come across a suicide. Have you heard about such suicide people online here? Yes. Yes. For example, in Jainism, you have heard about Santhara, right? It is a practice where a person ends up one's own life through fasting, severe fasting, right? But we attach spiritual significance to it. In earlier Japanese society, uh, there used to be samurai system, a warrior system. And when the samurai used to get defeated in battles, they used to feel like they have lost their honor. So to reclaim that honor, they used to commit suicide publicly, and that was known as harakiri. Now, these two cases tell you that sometimes social influence plays a key role in suicide. And the common type of suicide that we call it as wrong is egoistic suicide. When a person's ego is hurt, then he commits suicide. Then you can say, yes, it is not right kind of suicide. So the example that I shared with you, try to tell you that social reality is too complex to understand through common sense. And that is why we need to study social sciences like ethics. So is this perspective clear to online people? Yes. People here, please respond. Correct. So it is now clear that why we need to study social sciences like ethics. Now, let's start with some basic questions that will take us towards our today's focus. First question is, what is ethics and why its study has become more important now? Okay, so are you sitting with pen and paper so that I can dictate few things and you can jot them down? Yes. Shall I dictate you a definition of ethics? A functional definition? Right. So write down. Ethics is a systematic study of human action. Ethics is systematic study of human action from the perspective of its rightfulness or wrongfulness. Its rightfulness or wrongfulness. So let me repeat the definition. Ethics is a systematic study of human action from the perspective of its rightfulness or wrongfulness. Okay, so this is a functional definition needed for today's session. Now, in a way, what does this definition communicate to you? Yes. This definition is trying to tell you that what we do in ethics is nothing but evaluation of human action. Now, when I say evaluation, there is one word embedded in this word evaluation is values. So how do you decide what is right and wrong? It is done with the reference of certain moral values, right? So as a part of our studies in ethics, we are going to study certain set of values which will help us to make sense of moral worth of an action. Is that clear? And we don't simply categorize what is right and wrong. We also try to decide what is the process that we adopt to decide what is right and wrong. Is that clear? Okay, let's try to address second question. Now tell me why its study has become more important now. For example, in 2013, UPSC decided to include this subject in the scheme of exam to check the ethics, morals, values, and character of the candidate. Right? So why was it not earlier there in the syllabus? Now, the normal answer or general answer that some people try to give is that the corruption is rising. But tell me the period in which corruption was declining. Corruption is, in my opinion, is an ancient concern, right? For example, if you read Kautilya's Arthashastra, in that treaty, he also talks about corruption in the administration. So it is an ancient concern. It is not a recent one. So what has happened that has prompted government to bring the civil services reforms through ethics paper? Now, one logical answer to this question is, whenever society changes, to serve it in a better manner, you have to change the administration. And that's why we bring administrative reforms. So do you believe or do you agree that in last few decades, say since LPG reforms, liberalization, privatization, and globalization, our society has undergone a visible change? Do you agree? Yes. Yes, right? Prosperity has increased, economic growth has increased, there is a visible change in the materialistic things, right? Technology has advanced, social media is now reaching in the nook and corner of the country, right? And on top of that, Indian society is a young society, right? And many of the young people come across rag to riches story. Have you heard this phrase, rag to riches story? That a son of cycle wala has become IAS, or chai wala is, buying Mercedes and living a luxurious lifestyle, or someone is doing farming of kesar in 10 by 10 room and earning lakhs and crores of rupees. You might have heard such stories, right? So when people come across such stories, particularly young people, their aspirations rise, and there is nothing wrong in it. But tell me honestly, can everyone get whatever they want? Is it really possible for everyone to get what they want? Not really, because we have limited resources, limited opportunities, limited things, right? Now, if this is the case with the common man, even though he knows that to some extent that he's not going to get everything that he wants or desires, what about those people who already possess tremendous power? What is the possibility that they're going to use power for their own sake rather than for the people? Which possibility is high? The natural answer is that they are going to use power for their own sake rather than for others. Because civil servants, bureaucrats, politicians, they are not fallen from the sky. They are very much part of the society in which we live. So they are going to show the same cultural traits that we have, right? Now, how to arrest this tendency? So one more filter that UPSC thought would be appropriate right now is to add a subject known as ethics, which will help us to at least gauge or measure fairly the values, character, and attitudes of people entering into the services. So that is the standard answer. Okay. Now, in today's session, we are going to focus on these 5 things. Okay. So first 3 things are connected with your preparation part. One is syllabus, second is question paper, third is resources that you are going to refer. Then next 2 things are connected with your competitive nature of the examination, because not everyone is going to pass the examination. So what we need is excellence. So in order to bring excellence into your preparation, you need to understand the objectives or demand of the question and how to fulfill those demands. So these are the 5 things that we are going to discuss briefly. right? Have you got this? Okay, so this will be our nuts and bolts today. So let's start with first. So I'll give you a few minutes. Take a look at this table and also write down the three names of the three subjects that are written at the top, and then we'll discuss these final points. So take few seconds and write down these three subjects. Have you written these three subjects? Let's discuss their focus. The name of the moral philosophy is ethics. So what does ethics do according to our definition? It evaluates human action from the perspective of its rightfulness or wrongfulness, right? Correct. Now, what are the topics that are included? Let's look at first ethics and human interface. What is the purpose of this topic? The purpose of this topic is to understand where does ethics come into human life. It doesn't come everywhere, right? So you need to understand specific areas where we need to be wary or aware about ethical dimensions. Second, how are we going to decide what is right and wrong, ethical or unethical? By using the contribution of philosophers, whether they are from India or across the world. Third, you're going to be part of governance. So before you enter into governance, you need to understand the philosophical justification for the existence of governance and probity or integrity in it. And finally, what are the different sources of ethical guidance and what are their limitations? So if you look at the nature of the syllabus of ethics, it is not too academic, right? It is aligned with the purpose of civil services. Second subject that is part of your syllabus is social psychology. Now, in this subject, the focus is on human behavior when a person becomes part of the group. So what is the assumption here when we study behavior of a person when he is a part of group? The assumption is a person behaves differently when he is a part of group and when he is alone. So do you agree with this assumption? I'll give an example. So suppose you have lived in hostel, right? The way you live in hostel, is it the same way that you live with your family? Why not? Because the group is different, right? What happens in hostel when the lights are off and suddenly power is off? How do people behave? Doesn't their wilder side comes out? Yes. Would it happen if the person is alone in the hostel and the light goes off? Why? It won't, right? Why it won't happen? Because the group is absent. Have you been to shopping in groups? How do you behave in group? You become an aggressive bargainer, right? But would you become aggressive bargainer when you are doing it alone? No, because group is not there to support you. Now, even though these are some of the funny and some, hilarious examples, in actual society, you may see some serious repercussions of this dimension. For example, gang rapes, communal riots, mob lynching. These are not the outcome of individual action. These are the outcome of group action. A person who hasn't harmed anyone in the life becomes vicious killer in the group. So group may have both bad as well as good influence on the people's behavior, right? So why do you need to understand this crowd psychology? Because tomorrow, as a civil servant, you are not going to deal with individuals alone. You are also going to deal with different kinds of groups, right? So before you give right responses, you need to understand their group psychology. Is that clear? Now, if you look at social psychology as an independent subject, as a part of psychology, it has many topics. But they are not expecting you to study everything that is part of social psychology as academic discipline. They expect you to study important topics. So the purpose behind this syllabus is they don't expect you to be a specialist. They don't expect you to be ethicist. They don't expect you to be psychologist. They expect you to be generalist. Is that clear? Yes? I hope. Online people, are you following this line of argument here? What I'm trying to tell you here? Yes. Please give your response in chat box or thumbs up. Good. Thank you. Now, third subject that is part of your syllabus is public administration. Now, my question is, this subject is also there in your GS2 paper, namely governance. So why this subject has been repeated here in GS4? Because if you look at syllabus, the primary focus of public administration in GS4 is deciding how does administration defines morality. So what we are actually studying in this third column is known as administrative ethics, right? So before you enter into civil services, you should be aware about the morality and its concept as defined by civil services. And for that, you need certain concepts like aptitude, foundational values, what is meant by ethics in public administration, or probity in governance. Once you understand all these dimensions, you'll understand how does administration defines morality. So now what we are going to study here, not merely values, but certain laws, certain procedures, or certain code of conduct, code of ethics, and other dimensions of administrative morality. Now, once, see, this is a systemic approach, right? When we talk about laws and other things, this is systemic. Now, in a way, GS4 is interdisciplinary paper. And as you build the theoretical foundation of all these three subjects, you have fourth component of your syllabus is case studies, right? This is applied part. So once you build theoretical foundation, the last part that you are going to study is case studies. So in your preparation also, always keep in mind, never ever go for case studies first. Because if you do it, your answers will be more commonsensical and subjective. And such answers don't fetch better marks. Now, how much time do we need to cover the syllabus? In our current batches, we take almost 30 to 35 lectures. That is hybrid batches, offline plus online, right? So you also may need that much amount of lecture. And there are 4 stages of preparation of any subject in main exam. Okay. So first is classroom coaching, where we are going to build theoretical foundation. Second stage of your preparation is notes making. So once you study subject on your own after classroom coaching, you are going to prepare crisp notes, right? So notes making. Third stage is PYQ writing. So even though we are going to discuss some PYQs in the classroom, not all will be covered. So you need to practice on your own certain PYQs. And once you're confident that you have understood the thought process of the UPSC, then the last stage is mock test writing, right? So once you go through all these 4 stages, you are ready for prelims. So accordingly, you should plan your preparation. So mains preparation comes first, prelims preparation comes later. And interview preparation happens throughout the preparation. Okay. So have you understood the nature of the syllabus here? Online people, please respond here in chat box or thumbs up so that we can go ahead. Yes. Okay, one thing I would like to ask here is, how is my pace? I mean, is it right? Or is it too fast? Or is it too slow? Because I'm not aware how you are getting it. Yeah, it's going right. Okay. All right. Now let's go for next part of our discussion is structure of the question paper. So again, take few minutes or few seconds, take a look at it, and I'll tell you the nitty-gritties of the structure. Now, if you look at the structure, the question paper is distinctly divided into 2 sections, section A and section B. Section A is known as theory section, while section B is known as case studies. Section A contains minimum 12 questions. Sometimes they are 13. Per question, the marks that are allotted are commonly 10, but one question may be 15 marks question. Then the word limit for answer of each question is 150 words. Now, if you look at the categories of questions that are asked, first commonly found category in UPSC paper is quote-based question. Now here, quotes of great people are given to you and you are asked to interpret the quote correctly. So they ask, what does this quote mean to you, or what does this quote mean in the present context, right? So you need to provide explanation of the quote along with examples and relevant conclusion. Then second category of the question that is often asked in section A is examples based. Now in this category, they are trying to check your general awareness, because after all it is general studies paper. So either they give you a concept, they give you a statement, and they ask you some examples which will help you to explain the concept or statement. So here you need to give examples of either civil servants from history or from current. Third category of question that is often found in section A is conceptual. So either they are asking you definitions, or they are checking your understanding of a concept, or sometimes they trying to establish interlinkage between two or more concepts. For example, a question that was asked once was how emotional intelligence helps us in ethical decision making. So you need to connect these two concepts, right? Then fourth category of question that is nowadays increasing because of the dynamic nature of the exam is application based question, application to public or private life. Now, why does this increasing? Because UPSC has exhausted the concepts because syllabus is too short, right? So now they are going to correlate the syllabus to the current, and they are going to ask more applied. Now, application-based question demand correct and precise theoretical understanding of the theories, concept, and then only you can apply them in public or private life. So in a way, even though we call it theory section, it is not purely theory section because it contains applied part. The next section is section B, case studies. Every year they are asking 6 case studies. Per case study, generally marks that are allotted are 20, but one case study may contain 25 marks. If the marks are 20, the word limit is 250, but if the marks are 25, the word limit is 300. Now these are the way in which we classify case studies. Most often we find option-based case study, where they ask you to critically evaluate the given option or either created by you. Sometimes instead of asking option, they are asking you what is the course of action that you would follow and justify it. These are together known as situation-based case study because they are giving you a situation, a problem that needs to be solved. But sometimes they give you issue-based case study. Now these issues are pan-Indian issues, which no single person can solve. So here they are trying to check your understanding of the issue rather than solution that you could offer to the issue. So these are the general categories of case studies. From my experience, section B appears to be scoring one, but provided condition is you need to be firm and well prepared in section A because it acts as a theoretical foundation for section B. So we'll be giving priority to section A, and then we'll be moving to section B in the course of our teaching. So this is in a way structure of the question paper. Have you understood structure of the question paper, online people? Yes. Please respond. Now, if you count the number of words that you need to write for, they are altogether, for example, 12 into 150 is 1800 and 6 into 250 is 1300. So 1500. So they are altogether 3300 words you need to write in 3 hours. So almost you are going to write 50 pages. Now someone is asking, is this the same structure for MPSC? Not exactly same, but 6 case studies are going to be there, and there are going to be 13 questions, right? Here the section B will be for 120 and section B will be for 130 marks. But the categories of question are same, only that this year first time they haven't asked code based question, but other types of questions are there. I think Jia had asked, right? No, not 15 pages, 50 pages. Yes. Yes, Sakshi, not 15, 50 pages. For 5 marks, there is 1 page. So 250 marks would need 50 pages. So you're going to write 50 pages. And how come you would have that stamina, speed, accuracy if you start practicing from the day one? So it has been my common advice to all aspirants. Don't wait for studies to write. Start writing anything from the day one, because by the time main exam is around the corner, and if you haven't not 250 pages, no, 50 pages for all entire paper. 250 marks का पेपर होता है और 5 मार्क के लिए 1 पेज होता है. So if you do that calculation, you get 50 pages to write entire paper. Is this clear? Yes, Sakshi. Yeah, 5 marks, 1 page. Correct. Now, instead of going to discuss questions, because we haven't started theoretical discussion, we'll go for directly to resource books that you should follow. Okay, questions we'll take up later. Once we start discussing theories and content, we'll go for question. So these are the study resources you should follow. Okay, so if you need basic reading books, unfortunately they are not available with NCERT. So you can follow Maharashtra State Board's resource books. So write down basic reading books first, and these are references later. So are you ready with pen and paper? Because I'm giving you a list of basic reading books. Okay, so first basic reading books are 11, 12 standard philosophy textbooks of Maharashtra State Board. Please write down 11, 12 standard philosophy textbooks of Maharashtra State Board. I'll also tell you the specific chapters that you need to read instead of reading entire book. From the 11th standard philosophy textbook, the chapter number 1, 2, and 5 you need to read. Have you noted the number? Yes, online people. The chapter number is 1, 2, and 5. And from 12th standard philosophy textbook, the chapter number 5. No, not 1 to 4, 1 to 5 from 11th, and chapter number 5 from 12th. So these 4 chapters from philosophy textbooks. Second basic reading resources, 11, 12 standard psychology textbook of Maharashtra State Board. 11, 12 standard psychology textbooks of Maharashtra State Board. Now I'll tell you chapters. 11th standard ka 5th and 6th. Okay, chapter number 5 and 6 from 11th standard psychology textbook, and from 12th standard psychology textbook, chapter number 5, 7, and 8. Parts 7 and 8. So these are the 5 chapters you need to go through. These chapters not only will give you basic knowledge, but also some useful definitions and examples. So that is going to be your starting point of reading. Then comes reference books. Okay, so first one you need to refer and going to help you immensely is a book known as Justice by Michael Sandel. Michael Sandel is a Harvard University professor, and he has been teaching the topic on justice, and some of the important philosophers that we are going to study are part of this lecture series. So he conducts lectures on justice at Harvard University, and those lectures are converted into a book. Now this lecture series is also available on YouTube. So not only you are going to read the book, but also you are going to watch the lecture series of Michael Sandel on YouTube on justice. So is this clear? Yes. First resource clear हो गया आपको? Online people? Yes, YouTube and book for justice. Second resource is for social psychology. That is 11, 12 standard psychology textbooks of NCERT. And there are 3 chapters you need to read from these 2 books. Okay, I'll give you names of the chapters. Write down. First chapter is emotion and motivation. First chapter is emotion and motivation. Second is attitudes. Second chapter you should read from NCERT is attitudes. And third chapter you should refer to is social influence and group of processes. Social influence and group of processes. So these are the three chapters that are aligned with your syllabus of social psychology. Now, third resource you should write is second ARC's fourth report. ARC का full form है Administrative Reforms Commission. Now, this commission has published 16 reports in 2007. Of these, 15 reports are on variety of topics, and 16th report is a summary of 15 reports. Of these 15 reports, we need fourth report that is directly aligned with our syllabus, Ethics in Governance. It is 250 pages, more than 250 pages report. PDF is available on website. You can Google it and download it, get it printed, have it, spiral binded, and start reading at least, you have to read this entire report at least once. Then we can read selectively. So this third source will help you to cover third part of syllabus, that is public administration. Online people, have you understood this? Right. Now next reference is Good Practices Handbook by Niti Aayog. Now this fourth reference gives you better examples for good work done by administration. And you can use this example directly in your answer. So that is another useful resource. Now, in order to get all these resources, I have already uploaded these resources, except that Justice by Michael Sandel, on our Telegram channel. So please note down the, yes, Jia, right, the chapters are also important for MPSC. So please note down the Telegram channel's name, Unique Ethics Discussion Group. Unique Ethics Discussion Group. That is a Telegram channel on which you will find all the PDFs of the relevant chapters. Okay. Either you can download them and print them out, or you can go for ebalbharti.com where you get textbook PDF, or you can directly buy hard copy from the market and start studying. So either way. Is that clear, online people? In addition to this fourth resource, you should also read newspapers like Indian Express, The Hindu, or even Marathi newspaper. And how to extract relevant news from the newspaper that is relevant to ethics. You can get the idea from Telegram channel, because I have been sharing current affair time and again on Telegram channel that is relevant to both ethics and essay. Yeah, I'll repeat the name. Its name is Unique Ethics Discussion Group. That is our Telegram channel. Yeah, it is created to share the resources, both from news as well as some textbooks. Then you'll get also some study material of the Unique Academy, which will help you to supplement your efforts. And finally, there is one book which helps you to write answers. It contains model answer and some practice paper. It is published by the Unique Academy. You'll need this last resource towards the end of your course, not now. Okay, so these are the some of the few resources you should follow while preparing the subject. Is this clear? Now don't go for any other market resources. There are plenty. But let me tell you, being short syllabus, you don't have to read a lot, because bookish answers, theoretical answers or theoretical questions are not the favorite of UPSC or MPSC. What they are asking in effect is application or current oriented thinking, and that demands thinking. Okay, you won't get answers ready-made in any book. So reading little and thinking more is the recipe here. Is this clear, online people? What I'm suggesting you, I hope you are getting it. Okay, so this is briefly about how to prepare. Once you triangulate these three, PYQ, syllabus, structure of the paper or PYQ, and resources, you'll get the idea of the exam. You have to triangulate these three, right? But again, merely understanding exam is not enough, because it is a competitive exam. You need to excel compared to others. Now, in order to do that, you have to understand the key demands of this exam. So let's move to that focus. Some important questions, standard सवाल ये है, why GS4? And the obvious answer is they want to check the ethics of the candidate. But the real question is it really possible to check someone's ethics through written exam? And the answer of this question is no. Do you agree with me? If someone submits a paper, ethics paper, to me, will I get a fair idea of his or her character, morality, ethics? Is it really possible? No, because people write politically correct answer, right? They are smart enough to understand that what other side wants in their answer. So suppose, imagine someone is patriarchal. Will he show patriarchy in the answer? No. If someone is communalist or casteist, will he show communalism in the answer or casteism in the answer? No, not possible, right? Then real question is, इसको कहते हैं possibility of deception, right? कि लोग डिसीव कर सकते हैं. ये भी हो सकता है जिसको हम कहते हैं थ्योरी प्रैक्टिस डिवाइड, है ना, कि थियोरेटिकली आज आप अच्छे हो, आपके वैल्यूज अच्छे हैं, कैरेक्टर अच्छा है, बट ये भी हो सकता है आफ्टर गेटिंग पावर पीपल चेंज. सम पीपल चेंज फॉर बेटर, सम पीपल चेंज फॉर वर्स. हैव यू सीन पीपल चेंजिंग? यस, राइट. अच्छा, कुछ लोग ऐसा कह रहे हैं कि इंटरव्यू भी होता है. लेट मी गिव एन एग्जांपल. ओके, पहले के बारे में, डिसेप्शन के बारे में. 2 years back, there was a candidate who was caught copying in the main exam, Hyderabad. Okay, he was using some Bluetooth device, a minute, and he was copying. When he was caught, it was discovered that he was already selected for IPS. Okay, and when he was selected for IPS, in that year, he was topper of ethics All India rank. He had highest marks in ethics. Now, don't you think this is very embarrassing for UPSC? Yes. The candidate to whom they select turns out to be fraud and they give him highest marks, है ना. इंटरव्यू स्टेज भी उसने क्लियर कर दिया. अभी आपने देखा कुछ फ्रॉड ऐसे हुए हैं, राइट, वेयर दे हैव टेकन इवन यूपीएससी फॉर राइड. सो रियल सवाल ये है कि ये सब हम जानते हैं, वो भी जानते हैं, तो फिर भी ये क्यों है पेपर? तो इसका एक कॉमन आंसर ये है. ओके, अनलाइक अदर सब्जेक्ट like history, polity, geography, economics, ethics is not taught compulsory in schools and colleges. Do you agree with me? Yes. Have you been taught ethics in schools or colleges compulsorily? Yes, online people? No, it is not taught, right? It is not a subject to be taught. So how do you learn about morality? You learn about morality through upbringing, right? Now tell me, do all people get right upbringing? Not at all. Not at all. Some people get brainwashed through traditions, customs, outdated practices. So what the commission wants from you is they want to give you an opportunity to critically examine your own values, your own assumptions, your own beliefs, right? Because otherwise it would be great injustice to you. Forget about written exam. What if they find that you have wrong set of values in interview stage itself? And you also don't realize it because you are too much brainwashed by your upbringing. ऐसा हो सकता है ना? So हमें क्या करना है? We have to understand the objectives of the GS4. So there are certain objectives I would like to share with you. And once you keep them in mind, your preparation will be more deliberate, more focused, more aware. So as a subject, these are some of the objectives that GS4 brings to the table. First, they want to reinforce values. So आपकी आज कुछ value system है, right? वो बहुत बेहतर भी होगी. But real test कब होता है values का? Either you are in adversity or when you get tempted by something, power or money, right? So उस वक्त value system कब strong होगी? When you will make it strong through thinking, reflection, application. Second, they give you an opportunity to critically examine moral practices. So your group gives you some moral practices. For example, correct me if I'm wrong, in certain part of Maharashtra, still the dowry practice is very dominant. Do you agree with me, online people? Yes? Where taking and giving dowry is considered a normal thing. Right. Now imagine if someone is brought up in such environment will he not think that it is a normal practice? Yes, the possibility is high. So UPSC or MPSC wants to give you an opportunity where you can examine the critical practices of your own group. Okay, let me give you another example. Last survey of NFHS, last to last survey, they had interviewed married men and women. And one of the questions that was asked was, if a husband beats his wife, is it good for her? Are you getting the question? What they asked? They asked the question to both married men and women. The question was, if a husband beats his wife, is it good for her? 51% married women said yes, it is good for her. While 47% married men said yes, it is good for her. Now, tell me, ये अंदर से आ रहा है औरत के अंदर कि उसको ऐसा लग रहा है कि अगर पति मुझे मारेगा तो मेरे लिए अच्छा है? नहीं ना. So आपको नहीं लगता कि डोमेस्टिक वायलेंस को भी नॉर्मलाइज किया जाता है, पेट्रियार्की को भी नॉर्मलाइज किया जाता है? इवन वुमेन आर वन ऑफ द बिगेस्ट एजेंट्स ऑफ पेट्रियार्की. ये अपब्रिंगिंग से आ रहा है, राइट? That is what UPSC wants to correct. Third is they want to teach you how to resolve moral dilemmas. So बहुत बार डायलेमा आते हैं हमारे लाइफ में और वो मोरल भी रहते हैं कि क्या करें, है ना? तो आप कौन सा भी चॉइस करो, it is going to be equally tough. Now the real question is not merely making choice, how to justify it. What thought process would you adopt? What kind of values you would prefer? तो ये आपको सिखाना है. And finally, they want to help you to overcome traditional biases or prejudices. So ऐसा होता है ना बहुत बार कि अपब्रिंगिंग करते वक्त हमारे अंदर unintentionally कुछ prejudices आ जाते हैं, जेंडर के बारे में, कास्ट के बारे में, रिलीजन के बारे में, रेस के बारे में. Now imagine if a person enters with such prejudices into the services, will he be able to offer best services? No. For example, if someone is having prejudiced view about women, will he be able to contribute towards empowerment of women? Of course not, right? So these are some of the opportunities that UPSC wants to offer to us. It is up to us whether to take it or not. Now last is, as a question paper, what are they checking? One is they are checking your conviction. What do you mean by conviction? A firmness of your belief. So they want to check whether your belief system is strong, whether you are convinced of what you are saying right or wrong, or whether you are saying it for the sake of saying because other side wants to hear it. And that is extremely evident into the tone of your answer. Okay. Second, they want to check your spontaneous response. So often in the paper, you get little time to think and write. Okay. So what happens many times in this situation? What is inside comes outside, right? You can't hide or manufacture beautiful answer forever. So आपका real nature reveal होता है. Third, they want to check your ability to reconcile ideal with practical. अब ये क्यों important है? क्योंकि सिर्फ idealist होना काफी नहीं है. Right? You need to think about practices as well. For example, if you say that I'll eliminate corruption, examiner is not interested in that argument. What he or she is interested is how exactly you are going to do it. So they want to check your practical side as well. So you need reconciliation. And finally, they want to check your moral perception. How you look at things morally, what kind of views you have, what kind of values you bring to the table when you do it. So all these things in a way are going to give you UPSC some idea or MPSC some idea what kind of person you are, right? So this is not merely to pass the exam. This is also a statement on who you are. Now, when you keep this at the back of mind, your preparation doesn't become merely utilitarianist, that to score the mark. You also add some values into your life. You grow as a person. But what exactly specifically needs to be done in order to make this happen? So there are certain set of do's and don'ts you should keep in mind while preparing the exam and writing the answer. So let's look at some do's and don'ts. First one is, whenever you write answer, make sure your examples are authentic. Now, what do you mean by authentic examples? Authentic ka matlab hai based on real life, which has some proof. And the burden of proof doesn't lie on your shoulder because it is in public domain. On the other side, avoid cliched or imaginary example. Because what is the issue with cliched example, imaginary example? You can imagine example to suit your narrative. This indicates you are studying GS seriously. You're serious about your preparation. This indicates you are not serious. So avoid cliched. Second do or things you can do is, whenever you offer justification, make sure that you show the examiner that you have thought it well and then you are justifying it. So you consider all possible dimension, you offer some nice finer arguments and then you justify something. On the other hand, some people offer casual justification. Casual का मतलब उन्होंने ठीक से सोचा नहीं है, ऊपर ऊपर से लिख रहे है ना, उसमें कन्विक्शन नहीं दिखाई दे रहा है, ऐसा जस्टिफिकेशन नहीं लिखना है. थर्ड इज मेक श्योर योर डेफिनेशंस आर प्रिसाइज. प्रिसाइज का मतलब सिर्फ एक्यूरेट नहीं है, अकॉर्डिंग टू डिमांड और कॉन्टेक्स्ट ऑफ द क्वेश्चन. मानो सवाल इस दिशा में जा रहा है तो आपका डेफिनेशन इस दिशा में नहीं होना चाहिए. So any concept doesn't have one definition, it has a multiple definition because that is a part of social science, है ना. On the other hand, some people end up using vague or generic definition. They use same definition everywhere. No, that's poor understanding of the demand of the exam. Third, wherever possible, bring current affairs in your answer because after all it is GS paper. Show application, way forward solution, final conclusion, but please don't indulge into theoretical answers. Why? Because it is not optional subject, है ना. They are not exclusively focused on thinkers, they are focused on application of their thoughts. So theoretical answer, dense answer are strict no. Then show your conviction, show examiner that you are convinced about your own beliefs, your ideas, but avoid superficiality because it is, it shows that you are not serious about the entire project. Finally, remember, it is not enough to be correct. You have to convince the examiner. And the way you do it, through example and justification. Now, how to give right example, how to write correct justifications, well thought out justification, that you are going to learn in ethics. Is that clear? So these are the do's and don'ts you have to keep at the back of mind while preparing the subject and writing the answer. So if you do it over a period of time, your answers will be qualitatively better than any other ordinary aspirant. So is that clear, online people? Yes. This is what I wanted to share with you. Now, one more thing I want to share with you. Even though most of you are online, please make sure that you meet us once in a while and get your strategy chalked out. Don't prepare your exam in isolation. Isolation costs you number of attempts and it has huge opportunity cost. We have met many people who, despite having potential, skill set, knowledge, they couldn't even clear prelims because they remained isolated. And that is why they couldn't measure their progress. It is very essential in this entire process to measure your progress, efforts at every step. And who is going to help you in that? All of us, all teachers, subject experts. So even though all of you are online because of some practical difficulties, make sure you once in a while come to Pune and meet us and have one-to-one interaction. Then we can provide you a nice mentorship where you can build self-awareness, strategies, and work on it. So that's it, guys. This is exactly what I wanted to share today in brief 1 hour session. Now I'm open to your queries. Please feel free to ask me your doubts. Either you can ask in chat box or I'll ask you to unmute. Oh, no, chat not. Once your batch is regularized, we will share the contact numbers with you and you can text us or you can seek an appointment or we can speak on call. Once this batch is, this is demo lecture, right? So once the batch is finalized, you'll get all the details. Don't worry. Anything else, guys, about the paper or exam preparation or anything that you have difficulty, you can directly ask me here in chat box or later on also we can talk. Yes, feel free. Have you understood whatever we discussed today? Yeah, it is almost same. They have copy pasted syllabus. Even the nature of the question is same. This year MPSC has asked most of the questions straightforward. Even case studies were shorter. Some case studies were unique and some questions they lifted from UPSC. So it is almost same. Syllabus is same. So don't worry. You should not divide the preparation now. Yes. Yeah, from MPSC they have removed optional. But as you know all that nothing is final in MPSC. They keep revising it. No. Online उन्होंने declare तो किया है, but it is yet not final. CM recently made statement that they are going to discuss and then finalize. Yeah. For time being, they have declared that they are going to conduct prelims twice in a year and online. But again, online is going to be a bit problem to many students. So ये decision बदल भी सकता है. Keep your fingers crossed. Yeah, for MPSC. Anything else, or shall we stop? Yes, online people. Yes, yes. Please go through all UPSC papers, and they are going to help you in MPSC. Yes. Yes, they have declared they are going to conduct Rajya Seva prelims twice in a year, but main exam only once. Because according to them, once a person fails in prelims, he or she has to wait one more year to go for another round of exam. So they don't want to do it. That is in a way is a noble objective, but how they are going to do it logistically, that is a big question. And so let's wait. No, no, we don't give you NCRT books. They are available online. Only you will get class notes. Yeah, and you have to buy textbooks, or you can read it in PDF. It depends which subject you are going to study along with ethics. Polity may help, even society may help because they are more aligned. And Oswald, don't buy. Go for original copy. Oswald, I don't. Yes, they are going to ask on new NCRT as well. पुराने तो चाहिए आपको, वो PDF में रख लो और नए आप खरीदो. Always keep in mind, you go for original sources first. है ना? कौन सा भी हो, टेक्स्ट बुक हो, रेफरेंसेस हो, ओरिजिनल होनी चाहिए, रिटन बाय एक्सपर्ट्स, रिटन बाय people who never meant it for competitive exam. All right, guys, shall we stop then? Yes, I need your permission. Yeah, when the batch will be regular, we'll conduct the test and all. Yes. Even your weekly current affair test will be uploaded online. है ना, ये एक्सरसाइज भी अभी शुरू हो गया है. You'll get weekly current affair test based on newspaper. Yeah, thank you, Sanchit. Chalo then, we'll call it a day. Okay. Okay, good night, guys. Yeah, most welcome. Good night.